Hello everyone. Today's vlog entry is going to be about the riots that just took place at the Capitol. I've been wanting to do a few videos, more along the lines of art that are art related, because a lot of these lately have been getting really heavy on some of the political side. And so I want to make sure I give an even distribution of kind of the art aspects as well as the Christian aspect, and even the political. So I want an even distribution, but unfortunately, ever since about March of last year, our country's basically been a dumpster fire. So there's not a whole lot of time that I have. I didn't even want to even get too heavily invested in politics. I've mentioned this in other videos before. That's not my passion. I trust God to take care of me and to run things for me, and I just want to be his servant. But one of the things I realize I have to do is I have to conserve things, okay? So that's one of the things it takes to be a conservative and a Christian. So that's one of the very, very strong links. There are many strong links, but that's one of the main strong links, is that you have to conserve as a Christian. That's why Christ calls us the salt of the earth. And he says if the salt loses its saltiness, if it no longer preserves, Jesus said that salt is not even worth being trampled underfoot. So the salt has no value. So conserving is one of the major things we should be doing. We have the riots. First of all, I just want to say I don't condone the riots. I strongly condemn the riots. I do not condemn protesting. I think that's, one of our constitutional rights. But whenever it starts getting violent and destructive like that, then as a conservative or as a Christian, we are never called to be violent. Not in that respect, at least. Especially not to get what we want. Okay? I think the case could be made that you can go to war for your country. I think the case can be made that you can defend your family as a Christian. Even self-defense. But I don't think you can make the case that to get what you want politically, you can incite violence. That's not how Christians move things. Christians are to spread the gospel, and that's the most powerful tool we have in our arsenal. Not only is it commanded by Christ, it's something we have to do. If you love Jesus and you give your life to him and you pick up your cross and follow him, that means spreading the gospel. That's one of the things. And so it's kind of like I've heard say before, it's like having the cure for cancer and then you just sit on it and don't tell anyone. If, you should want that more than anything. You should want to please Christ, and you should want to do everything in your power to make sure everyone else has found that good thing that you have found, that answer, the cure. Christ is the only thing that can set you free and truly make you live. I never knew what it was to really live until I was a Christian. So I want to comment on these riots, though, directly. After our leftist media has gone on for months and months and months, glorifying riots, calling them peaceful protests, talking about how that was the way protests should be. We've even had reporters at CNN claiming that protests shouldn't be peaceful, which is absurd because it is actually spelled out in our Constitution that we do have the right to protest, and that it has to be peaceful. Okay, and which I've also heard other people, like prominent members of BLM, saying that we don't have that there is no right way to protest. Well, no, it's actually built into our Constitution that there is a right way to protest. So there is a right way to do things. But here's the leftist media, hands down, absolutely biased, extremely left. They were fine and promoted and glorified when leftists were burning down cities, hurting people, beating to death people, burning down businesses that actually they were supposed to be for racial justice, but they were burning down business. Some of them were actually owned by minorities. How absurd. So, like I said, I don't condone what happened in the Capitol by any means. no matter whether it's the left or the supposed right that's doing it. I'll make a case about that in just a minute. But no matter who is rioting, a riot is never right. No matter the cause, no matter who's done it. Christians in the past were skinned alive, drawn and quartered, tortured to death, and the way they escaped persecution and became the actual religion, official religion of the Roman Empire, was by spreading the gospel. And that's what we need to be doing as well. So the leftist media wants to pretend to be shocked now when people are rioting. Well, you just spent half a year programming everyone and telling them that that's the right way to be. That's the right thing to do. You normalized it. Okay, and like I said, I'm not defending it. But how can they be surprised and shocked? How can they say anything when they just spent 6 months justifying it? Oh, it's only okay when someone who agrees with them politically riots. So any riot that disagrees with them politically is bad. Any riot that agrees with them is good. Anything that supports their cause at all, good. Anything that doesn't, bad. Riots are always horrible. The standard goes both ways. So the news media can't be upset now that people actually took them at their word. Someone finally believed all their lies, and instead of being excited about it, now they're pretending to be all woe is me. Now I've been hearing a couple of arguments on why it's okay for BLM to riot and Antifa to riot, but it's not okay for whoever these people are to riot. And I think they're absolutely absurd. One of the first things I've heard is that because these are based on conspiracy theories, these riots that are going on now, or were going on, they're no longer going on, they're based on conspiracy theories, so they're somehow worse. I don't know that that's a valid argument, but especially since you consider that BLM riots were based on conspiracies. So now I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but as a conservative, I have to admit that things look suspicious in that election. Okay, I'm not saying that one way or the other that the election was stolen or not. I don't know. But all I can say is that it looks suspicious, and I wish that people had taken a more proper legal route. Whoever is responsible for that, I wish that our politicians would have addressed our concerns, because they're supposed to listen to we the people, but they didn't really. And I think, investigations should have been had. Every single one of every concern should have been investigated within reason. So the machines should have been looked at, and that way, if there was no fraud in the voting machines, well, they could have proven it really easily. They should have had recounts or audits in every single one of them. That would have shut everything down. It could have been over in a week. Everyone would have been satisfied. All I can say is this, and you might think this is crazy, but just role reverse for a minute. If Donald Trump had won the election, if that night before you went to bed, Joe Biden was winning the election, and it looked like he had it in the bag, and then all the polling places closed, and let's just say there were a bunch of Republican workers there, or a bunch of, let's just say this, how about a bunch of Democrat poll watchers were told to go home, and that they weren't going to do anything else there. And then as soon as they left, there were videos of Trump supporters pulling votes out from under the table and continuing to count. And then all of a sudden, when you wake up in the morning, even though the polling was supposedly stopped, they were no longer counting votes. Now all of a sudden, Trump's in the lead. You are going to tell me you would not be suspicious? How gullible would you have to be? I'm sorry, but that's suspicious. Doesn't mean it's right. Doesn't mean that the conspiracy theorists are right. It just means it's absolutely suspicious. And if you believe that and just give everybody the benefit of the doubt and be like, boom, okay, I think there's something wrong with you. There's not something wrong with these people for being suspicious. Now, there's something wrong with people believing every single thing they're told, whether they're told it from the right or from the left. We need to have a healthy dose of skepticism. We need to check our sources. And, I'm sorry, but CNN is not a valid source. It's not a reliable source. Okay? So you need to actually really check real sources. And I would just say this, these people have valid concerns because their concerns were not addressed in an appropriate way, I feel. So there was a way this could have been handled, I think, that could have set everybody's mind at ease. Maybe it was just too much. Maybe the logistics wouldn't work out. Maybe that's why. I don't know. But some reason should have been given. There should have been something. The people should have been treated like their concerns were being addressed. And that's all I've got to say. I'm not saying they're justified in rioting. Rioting's never justified. Like I said, they have no justification in rioting. But they're definitely justified in protesting. Okay? Now, one riot being better than the other or worse than the other because of conspiracy theories, well, is that a conspiracy theory? Yeah, I'm sure. There are some conspiracy theories rolled into that. But the BLM and Antifa riots were based on conspiracy theories as well. If you go and look up the data on police shootings and look into each of these individual cases where an unarmed black person is shot, you'll see that these are basically conspiracy theories. Everything the news media, all the news media coverage lies. Every bit of it's a lie. If you go and actually look at the data, look at the facts, look at the cases, the news is just blatantly lying about it. They'll come roll out with a story that fits the narrative the very first minute it happens. Everybody goes and riots. Then it's all proven wrong. Then they never retract the story. And sometimes they continue to promote it on the sly. So there are still papers that are publishing false stuff about Jacob Blake. Even though it's all been proven false. So those are conspiracy theories. I'm sorry. They're conspiracy theories. So all of that stuff that happened for months and months and months, all those riots, those are based on conspiracy theories. And they are no more substantial, maybe even less substantial than the conspiracy theories that whatever these lunatics are believing from today. Because at least there was voter fraud. There's voter fraud in every single election. And if you don't know that, grow up. I mean, get informed. I mean, people talking about being woke, that's something you need to really understand is that every election has voter fraud. It's just, is it mass scale? I would just end by saying this. Now, there's a bunch of theories going on that those people that broke into the Capitol were they were actually just Antifa. They weren't really conservatives. I don't know if that's the truth or not. It could be true, but one thing's for certain. They're not conservatives. So they might be Trump supporters. They may not be Trump supporters. They may love Trump. They may hate Trump. But one thing they're not is they're not conservatives. So blaming some people who support a political party, taking their actions and blaming everyone in that political party for them, it's absurd when that party holds exact opposite views of what the people did. Okay? Holding all conservatives accountable and trying to blame them for something that happens that's completely, absolutely 100% against conservatism is just like what people do all the time where they try to blame Christians for some nutcase that claims to be a Christian and does something wrong. Like the Westboro Baptist Church or countless other examples. Those people, I'm sorry, if they don't follow Christ, if everything they do is in exact opposition to what Christ commands of them and what Christ demands of them, then they're not Christians. A Christian has to follow Christ. Christian means little Christ or Christ-like. And if you're not Christ-like, I'm sorry, but you're not Christ-like. It just doesn't work that way. Same thing about a conservative. If you're a conservative, you want to conserve traditional norms and you want to conserve morality and you want to conserve the Constitution, and then you go and attack the government in an attempt to destroy the Constitution, Sorry, but you're not a constant. You're just not a. You're not a conservative. It's just like a Christian who, like these Christians, this guy just got elected. I believe he was saying he was a pro-choice pastor. Sorry, but there's no such thing as a pro-choice pastor. There is no way you can justify that belief if you've ever read the Bible. I'm sorry. So you may not like that. You can argue with me. Feel free to argue. Leave me a comment. Do whatever. I would be more than happy to show you. So you just, hands down, you can't be a true follower of Christ who loves life and who wants to defend children just like Christ tells you to do, and then also want to extinguish their lives before they're born. You just can't do it. Okay? And once again, I'll say almost any time I make a public statement about abortion, I always say that if you had an abortion, that doesn't mean I dislike you, doesn't mean I hate you, doesn't mean I judge you. It just means that I know you made a mistake, and I know what you did was wrong, whether you knew it at the time or not, whether you thought it was right or wrong. God says it's wrong. You may not have known that, but there's forgiveness in Christ, and He can forgive you, and I forgive you, and He loves you. Jesus loves you. Okay? He would love nothing more than to wipe that off your slate. I'm no better than anybody else. My sins were atrocious. They are atrocious. But my sins are forgiven. Praise God. Anyway, I just wanted to give that view of what happened. Of course, I'm an artist. There's no way I could ever want to attack a government that upholds free speech. As a matter of fact, I'm really appalled at all the lack of free speech and all the suppression that we've been seeing lately, even with this going on. So one group is over there physically attacking the government and the Constitution and free speech, and then they got another group over somewhere else that's attacking it from the back door by just censoring you. And it's not a good situation. Sometimes I've been feeling like I've been living in a dream lately. But the main thing, nothing will ever get me down. Nothing will ever stop me or shut me down, because Christ is King. No matter who's president, no matter what person's burning down which building or shooting which person, Christ is still King. He's Lord of all. And so that's where my trust is. That's where my joy comes from, and nobody can take that. But one thing we have to do, we have to start taking back this culture as Christians. And then, if everybody was a Christian, you wouldn't have to worry about people rioting, because no one would have the desire to riot. All right. Until next time. If you enjoyed this video, consider liking and subscribing. If you didn't, then do something really radical. Like and subscribe anyway.